Alright, this is going to be a very quick video on how to install a Quest 4B bolt kit, which I have right here in this little case. The 4B bolt you will receive will most likely have a blue bolt and a black bolt pin, but this one was raw because I didn't want to use any of the actual sellable bolts, so this is just for demonstration. Also, it'll be easier to see with this nice silver table I got here. Okay, so the first thing you got to do is take your Quest and take an Allen wrench if you need it. Unscrew the bolt pin from the back of the body. Now if you have one of the snatch pins, I believe they're called, then you can just use your hands, but in any case, remove that, stick your finger in to get the bolt out, and you're pretty much done with these at this point, so just stick them inside. It's a good idea to keep them around in case you need a backup or something. Okay, so when you initially receive your 4B bolt, the bolt and the bolt pin will be stuck together, so you'll have to separate them to do some initial greasing. So take the two apart. Now, when you take the two apart, it's entirely possible that they'll be stuck together with a lot of friction, but that's just because the O-rings have been sitting around a while. So get them apart and put an initial amount of grease on all of the external O-rings on the bolt. Those two, and then this back O-ring here. There's a new O-ring on here which is a bumper. You don't really have to grease that. And now put another coat of grease on the O-rings of the bolt pin. These three in the middle are the most important, and then these two in the back are stationary, so they're not quite as important. Now if you have everything greased up, you can insert the two and distribute the grease a little bit. It might be a tight fit, but that's normal. That's how the bolt was designed. So now, just insert into the back of the gun, tighten it down with your hand, and you should be good. Now, when you initially install your bolt, it's a good idea to take your tank and pressurize the gun and take a couple test shots. Using the same settings as the stock bolt, you may have to decrease your dwell setting and or decrease your LPR, but every gun is different, so any combination of dwell setting, LPR, and high pressure reg, or not high pressure, but mid pressure input pressure regulator, you'll have to find a combination of all three of those that works best. Most people have observed a decrease, or a decrease in LPR pressure, sometimes combined with a decrease in dwell, but all of that is going to end up making a higher velocity, so you will have to re-chronograph your gun. Now a couple of notes about the bolt itself. When they arrive, when you initially get your bolt pin, this section here is separate from this section, and the two will unscrew from each other if you apply enough force to try to do it. You don't want that to happen during normal play, so if that ever happens to you, then it's a good idea to unscrew the two from each other and put a little bit of Loctite on the threads and just tighten them back together. The Loctite doesn't really matter because there's really never any reason that you have to separate these two pieces. They might as well just be stuck together forever. So some people have mentioned that, so I wanted to get that out there. Now, when you first install the bolt, before the grease has been distributed throughout, you may have to take a couple shots just to work in the O-rings and get them all lubricated up. A lot of people have mentioned that there's a break-in period, and that's acceptable. I've heard of stranger things, so it doesn't hurt to shoot a couple rounds through there and get all the grease moving around. Let the O-rings settle into position definitively. It's a good idea to not do that on the field though, because you might have to adjust the settings later on, but that's all perfectly normal stuff. Now one last note about the friction fit of the bolt. It is tighter, like I mentioned, so if you're really upset with it, then you can try installing some slightly smaller O-rings onto the bolt pin itself. I believe the size is actually a size 1370. So if you really want to experiment, then you can grab some 1370s, put them on the bolt pin, and try tuning the gun with those settings. Now I don't think that you'll be able to get very far doing that. I tried it myself for a little bit, but just to see how the gun would work. But it didn't seem like it was going to help at all. The one thing you got to be careful of though is that the more loose the fit is, the more chance of internal leaking when the gun actually fires. And so when that happens, you're going to have internal leaks that you can't actually find, and it'll cause some back pressure to be created, and you'll have to boost up your dwell time a bit, and that'll kind of decrease your efficiency. So that's why the bolt was designed with a tighter fit on all the parts. That's just how it is though, and like I said, I don't think you'll be able to experience better fit or better performance from trying that. Just because the bolt has a tighter fit does not necessarily mean that the bolt is going to move slower, because the friction of the O-rings on the inside of the gun doesn't really have much to do with how fast the bolt moves. That has more to do with the solenoid that's in here and how much air it's able to vent out at one time. The pressure has more to do with the bolt speed than the actual friction fit. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. The bolt is designed like that, and many people have reported that it is a faithful design that works. So I recommend sticking with it. But anyway, that's all I have. So like I said, test it out. I'm not going to bother doing that now because I don't want to make too much noise, but test it out, see what it is, chronograph it in, and you should be good to go. If you have any questions, then drop us an email or post a comment or do something like that, and we'll try to get back to you.